Hello, glad to be with you again. This is Early Lances. I am Lillian Agbegbe, your friendly community health educator. So we've already looked at some of the low-hanging fruits that you can use to make sure that you're staying alive and you're staying healthy. Now going forward, I want to look at some of the health issues that we're discussing on particular months, particular days, particular weeks. And what happens is that although public health practitioners are working on these health issues throughout the year, sometimes we choose particular months, days, weeks to draw attention of other people and so that you can do something about it in that time period also. Today, I want to look at human trafficking. January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And so I wanted to look at some of the things that are going on in human trafficking. What do you know? What do you think? What can get you into trouble? Well, let's start with a couple of trivias. I'll ask you a couple of questions and you can answer true or false. So, question 1. There always has to be violence for a case to be human trafficking. True or false? If you answered false, you are correct. It doesn't always have to be violence. So don't go thinking that somebody has to be chained up, bound up, all the time for the person to be in a human trafficking situation. The person can actually be coming and be going. Now, here's how the Trafficking Victim Protections Act of 2000 defines human trafficking in the United States. Defines it in categories that we can talk about, something that's an action, means, and purpose. So if somebody harbors, recruits, transports, receives an individual by means of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of sex trafficking or labor servitude, that is human trafficking. And that person, anybody who does that, is committed an offense and you're liable to criminal charges. Okay, another trivia I'll give to you. Human trafficking involves only sex trafficking. True or false? That was a dead giveaway. I'd already told you earlier on about labor trafficking. So no, the answer to that is false. Human trafficking involves sex trafficking, but it also involves labor trafficking. Okay? And then another quick question for you. Labor trafficking only happens in developing countries. True or false? That's false. Labor trafficking happens right here in the United States. In fact, we've had some very high-profile labor trafficking cases in the past couple of years. First, in 2018, there was some lot of buzz about a labor trafficking case because we had the highest payback for a labor trafficking victim by a Nigerian couple in Texas who had brought this woman in and was working in their house. And the neighbors called the National Human Trafficking Hotline, rescued the lady, and the couple were convicted and had to pay over $100,000 in back wages to the person. We started last year in very high notes in the labor trafficking industry. The country of Malawi was suspended from bringing in domestic workers because they had a pending case for a domestic worker who had not been compensated. And we ended the year on an interesting note. A former Moroccan diplomat, his wife, and his brother-in-law been charged for labor trafficking crime, bringing in, wait for it, over 10 domestic workers. One person, over 10 domestic workers. So remember I told you I'm going to throw in some things that can stop you from committing a crime? This is one of the situations. What do you need to do to prevent yourself from being charged with labor trafficking? Now, understand that labor trafficking is a crime because of the Trafficking Victim Protections Act. Nobody's going to ask you what you think. Nobody's going to ask you what you feel. what is going to be the basis of the case is, what does the law say and what did you do? Okay, so you can be a trafficker even if the person you're relating with is your husband, your wife, your uncle, your auntie, your niece, your nephew. Don't bring somebody to work for you and keep them to work for you and take away their documentations. You can threaten to deport them. Make sure you give them a contract if you do give them a contract. So let me break this up in two nice portions for you, okay? Let me do the do's and let me do the don'ts. What you should do and what you shouldn't do. Okay, what you should do is if you bring somebody to work for you, make sure you sign a contract. Make sure you're paying them for the work that they're doing. Make sure you provide decent accommodation for them. Make sure you provide opportunities for them to interact with other people in society. You can't remain their only source of information. Now, don't take away their passport. Don't threaten to deport them. Don't make them work long hours without breaks. Don't pay them less than you said you were going to pay them. This is a very simple and straightforward case if you are employing the person to work for you. If you're not employing the person is somebody from your country. We had a case where the former president of Gabon, last year, he and his wife were charged with labor trafficking in Texas. They brought the girl from their country and they're like, oh, she has a better life here. We're very glad that you're offering people a better life. But the laws in the United States say that if you bring somebody, they can't wake up at 6 a.m. and work until 12 midnight and not be paid. They can't be sleeping in your basement without any furniture. They can't be sleeping in your laundry room. They cannot be going to school. You must make sure that you're providing them everything that they need. And guess what? Are you listening to me? Are you in a situation where you think you might be in a trafficking situation? Don't be afraid. You can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline. That number is 1-888-373-7888. And no, it doesn't matter whether your visa has expired, whether somebody else has your passport. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Have you heard about the T visa? T visas are available to trafficking victims who cooperate with law enforcement and can show that they were brought into the country illegally or they were brought into the country legally, but somebody made sure that they overstayed their visa so that they can use that to threaten them. You can be out of status and there's still a way for you to remain in this country legally. So I encourage you, if you know somebody who might be in a trafficking situation, if you are in a trafficking situation, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 1-888-373-7888. If you've brought somebody into this country, please make sure you're treating them the right way. You might be able to get away with it for a certain period of time, but I don't want you to end up like the couple from Nigeria who ended up having to not only be charged, not only be in the news over a period of time, not only ended up going to jail, but they still had to pay the money they thought they were saving, over $100,000, to their victim who ended up getting a T visa and is remaining in the country. My name is Lillian Agbegbe. This is LA Lenses. You can reach me, lalenses2@gmail.com. Questions, comment. I look forward to hearing from you, and I will join you next time. Thank you.